spelled correctly, so we should have no problems. All right, no problems. We're good to go. Working on all 8 cylinders here. But before I get started, like in every class, and the show that I do, we want to begin by giving all esteem. I can never say that enough. All esteem to the Father of Yahuah for his mercy, his love, and his patience. All right, because as we already know, to deal with us is going to take a lot of patience, because we got issues on top of issues on top of issues. So for his love, his patience, and his ultimate sacrifice, Yahushua Mashiyach, who is and was that atoning sacrifice for the nation of Yashra'al. So the nation of Yashra'al is first, and we want to make sure that we give all the esteem to the Father for that. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Very good. Now, we want to prove, as always, some of these things when we begin to say that Yahushua Mashiyach is the atoning sacrifice for the nation of Yashra'al, because we want to make sure that we always give the Father the proper praise, respect, and honor for having patience with us, especially with me. So I know I can be a handful, so I thank the Father personally for his patience with me. But let's show some of the importance of Yahushua Mashiyach. Let's go to the book of Hebrew, the 10th chapter, and I'm going to be reading verses 5 through 7. The book of Hebrews, the 10th chapter, verses 5 through 7. You know what? Let's start with verse 4. It says here, speaking to the Hebrews, "For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins." All right? For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins. Wherefore, when he, we have to identify who's the he. Everybody knows who the he is, right? Okay, hallelujah. So wherefore, when he cometh into the world, he saith, "Sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared me." All right, so that me is Yahusha. Hallelujah. So this is the reason why we give all the esteem to the Father for sending his Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, to be that ultimate sacrifice for the nation of Yashra'al, because it is impossible that the blood of bulls, the blood of goats should take away sins. And taking away sins is about forgiveness. All right? That's another hard feat for Israel to do, is to forgive. But the Messianic being that atoning sacrifice, and the Father prepared him to be a body for us. I'll read just, I got 2 more verses. Now, in burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin, thou hast no pleasure, because it was only a temporary covering. Verse 6, verse 7. Then said I, everybody knows who the I is?
Yes. Don't sir.
Hallelujah. Then said I, the Mashiyach, "Lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me to do" whose will? Yahuah's will. Every single thing has to be based upon a foundation. And that foundation is doing the will of the Father. Now that's going to be really important. It is never, never, ever, 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 never about your feelings, your wills, and your desires. It is always about the will of Yahuah. Yahuah said in tones. It's always about the Father. And the Mashiyach came to do the Father's will. We're going to now go to the book of Psalms 46. We want to make sure that we're able to prove Yahushua HaMashiach, that atoning sacrifice for the nation of Yashra'al. 46. Let me read down to 7, actually. So we have now, before there was a book of Hebrews, we have it said now in the past. And so the past is now coming to fruition, so we now have the future. The Mashiyach said, or it said now in Psalms of David, sacrifice and offerings thou didst not desire. It has, my ears hast thou opened. Burnt offerings and sin offerings thou hast not required. But when you look at that word, my ears has I opened, in Hebrew it is actually now, a body has thou prepared me, which we just read in the book of Hebrews, the 10th chapter, verses 5, 6, and 7. Then said I, the Mashiyach, lo, I come in the volume of the book, it is written of me. That is very important, it is written of me. Now, this is the question. When it says that I come in the volume of the book, what book are we talking about?
Torah.
Okay, so he's not talking about the New Testament.
No.
Right, because there was no New Testament at the time. So it's very important that we understand that and we get into what we have now. He's talking about the Tanak. Right? We have the acronym for Tanak. We have Torah.
Nabi.
Oh, okay. We have Ketuvim. So these are the acronyms. And what about the K?
It means writings.
Exactly, the Ketuvim. So we have the Torah, we have the prophets, and the writings. Those are going to be very, very important because they explain to us the redemptive role of the Mashiyach and him now bringing us back into covenant relationship with the Father of Yahuah, the Father of Yahuah. Luke, the 24th chapter. Luke, the 24th chapter. And we're going to do verses 44 to 45. We must acknowledge the Mashiyach. We have in Luke 24, 44, and he said unto them, who is the he?
Yahusha.
And who is the them? Talmudim. And he, the Mashiyach, said unto his disciples, or his Talmudim, these are the words which I spoke unto you while I was yet with you. All things must be fulfilled. Some things or all things?
All things.
Hallelujah. Come on, we're going to have to get the Ruach up in here today. All right? Tomorrow's our promise to us. Let's try to make sure that we get everything that we can out of this lesson today. One more time. And he said unto them, these are the words which I spoke unto you while I was yet with you. All things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moshe, and in the prophets, and in the Psalms concerning me. Not me, but the Mashiyach. All right? So we just want to make sure that everybody understands the redemptive role of the Mashiyach. Why the Mashiyach had to come, the sacrifices of bulls and goats, that just could not do it. Could not do it. So we need something of equal value to actually redeem his people, the nation of Yashra'al. Now, question. Anybody know what the word marriage means? What is the word for marriage in Hebrew?
Brit.
Is it brit?
As a covenant. I don't know if is there even a word for marriage?
I can see the connection, because brit means to cut. Like you said, it's a covenant. Now, there's a couple of words that we have for marriage. We have the word neshuin or nesuin. Let me just put that down here on the board. In case you want to do your own little research on it. We have the word nesuin. We have the noon. Neshu, we have the sheen, we have the u, we have the yod, and we have the nun sofi. So we have, that's Yashra'al. Or you might see it spelled Nesu'in. All right? That's a word for marriage. And another word we have is, okay, we do it this way. This is marriage. And the next word is Oshan. Oshan. Oh, excuse me, Onah. Onah, excuse me, Onah. And that is, we have the ayin, we have the u, the nun, and the hey. Now, just a little Hebrew grammar. We have two vowels here. The u is a vowel and the yod is a vowel. And so what they do now is that one of them has to cancel itself out. So this is Neshuin, or the vowel pointing system, Nesuin. And here you have, this might be considered a vowel. The ayin and the u is a vowel. So this is, the way that I'm seeing this is actually Auna, Aun. But we have to make sure, we have the hey at the end because it's actually a feminine word. But this is just another word also too now for the word marriage. And that's going to be very, very important. If you sleep on it, I'm telling you, you're going to miss a whole lot. And it's very important that we look at the scriptures from a Hebraic perspective. If not, you're going to run into a problem because if you don't know what I'm talking about, especially those of us that are married, if you don't understand marriage and you are married, you're going to run into some problems. So very, very serious problems. Let's go to our first scripture. We're going to go to the book of Exodus. The book of Exodus, or the book of Shemot, the 21st chapter. Exodus 21. I'm going to keep saying this throughout the course of the lesson. Marriage and protecting the brand. Marriage and protecting the brand. And let me just do this too now before we get into the heat of this. So I'll put out my disclaimer. All right. This is class not to offend anybody. Take the glasses close so I can see everybody clear. I want no facial expressions or anything like that. All right. Everybody's going to be told. All right. So again, it's not about making any personal attacks against anybody. We're all in peace and shalom. We just want edification. If I can show it in scripture, there should not be a problem. And if, I'm just a messenger, just reading the scriptures. This class is not about polygyny, making anybody feel bad, and anything like that. Not trying to uplift one person and put another person down. We just want clarity on marriage and protecting the brand. That's all that we want. So, we have the book of Exodus 21:10. It says, if he, which is the man, take him, another Isha, a wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage should not diminish, which I agree with totally 100%. Now, that word marriage here is the Hebrew word onah. That's what we get for marriage. Now, if we were to look at verse 10, what is it that you're able to gather with this responsibility of an ish taking on a second isha? And I just want, we have 4 women here. Okay, we want the men to back up a little bit because this might be like one of the first scriptures that we probably knew once we came into the wall. I can take a second isha, I'm ready to go. But that was just a joke, just a joke. But again, but being that this is such a hot topic, what did you gather, or what has the Father shown you with Exodus, the 21st chapter, verse 10? where it says, if he take him another Isha or wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage should not diminish. We have 4 sisters here, and your input would be gladly appreciated. Yes.
One of the things I've heard for many years, when the brothers talk about having a second wife, they also talk about the first wife working to support that second wife. And this is where the brothers...
Okay, that's good. I'll make sure I hear you. Now, once he gets a second wife, the first wife must...
help to take care of that second wife, but that is not the first wife's responsibility. That is his responsibility. And here it tells you that the first wife should not diminish in any way. So you have to provide for that first wife.
Right.
And if you want a second, you have to provide for that. Now, if that first wife is working and chooses to continue to work, that's fine. But there's nothing that says she has to buy everything for that second wife. And I think a lot of brothers get confused that they can sit down at home while these women are all out there working for the cause.
Exactly.
And that's not how Yahuah had it set up.
It is not.
And, I think if the brothers understood that and with that understanding approach sisters differently, then I think the receptiveness of it would be different. But my job is not to take care of your second wife. That's not my job. And it will never be my job. And I don't have a problem, if we sat down and discussed what this other person's role is in the ketubah, and we come to an understanding that, this is what we need, that's fine. You got to take care of it.
Right. Exactly.
I'm not being hard or trying to be funny. It's just, this is the way Yahuah set it up. I mean, brothers don't want sisters stepping outside of their authority, but we don't want you stepping outside of your authority either.
Right.
You're the head, and that second wife is your responsibility. That's not the first wife's responsibility.
Absolutely. I definitely
so you can't cherry pick and say, I'm the man here, but sister, you take care of that over there. You can't cherry pick. And I think that's the biggest problem with a lot of these brothers. They want to cherry pick this thing, and either you're going to do it or you're not going to.
Absolutely. Hallelujah.
Come on, sisters, help me out here.
It's always said that the sisters don't have a voice, they can't speak, and so what we do at the congregation of Yashra'al, all right, we want to hear from our sisters. I mean, this is not a dogmatic, this is not a democracy. In order for there to be a relationship, you have to talk. Because today's show is entitled Marriage and Protecting the Brand.
I agree with Shia, and to add to it, whatever you did for the first wife, you have to do and keep it up when you get a second one. What you done for the first wife should not be taken away from her or diminished or go away because you have a second one. A second wife is a huge responsibility because you've done a standard with the first wife. So if you do with the first wife, you do with the second one. So the first wife shouldn't be put away or whatever you were doing for her, it goes away because now you have a second one.
Right.
And may I add to that? You're right, sister, and we're on the same page. But also in these marriages, first marriages, we've all, I would say, have worked together and to help each other to get that upper leg and to get established. So, once a husband and wife make that establishment, they work hard together. It's almost like co-parenting. I mean, you work together to accumulate things. So that husband is used to seeing that first wife working hard because that's what you had to do to get started. But that doesn't mean she continues to work hard.
Right. Exactly. I agree.
So it just hit me when the sister said he has to maintain what that sister was doing. Well, that sister helped to get it started. If that sister wants or needs to retire at that point, she can. Because that's again, a second wife is his responsibility. It's not, and I'm not saying, oh, go retire because he wouldn't get a second wife. That's not what I'm saying at all. You know,
Right.
I'm just saying, like, take myself for example. You know, Yahuah and I work very hard. We do, trying to get established. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I want to retire by the time I'm 55.
Yeah.
You
Hallelujah.
know, I have worked hard for a very long time. I started working when I was 10 years old. I've always worked 12-hour shifts to 16-hour shifts, so I'm tired. So I'm hoping Yahuah blesses us soon to have the upper hand, and when he does, I mean, I don't want to work till I'm 75.
Exactly. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why I wanted to hear the voice of the women, because a lot of times in a lot of congregations, the women don't get a chance to express what they're seeing in Scripture. And everything that I've heard so far is absolutely correct. But watch this, though. This is not even about polygyny. This is about marriage and protecting the brand. But again, being that we're dealing with the Scripture here, I didn't want us to lose focus. And none of you have lost focus. You're absolutely correct, 100%. So you don't believe that now, if you were used to getting seconds at dinner, now that there's a second Isha in the picture, that you can no longer get seconds at dinner if you don't want that. You don't want anything that you used to do now to diminish.
That's what the book says. But
No,
when
no,
you're
but
talking about
you're
seconds,
correct. You're correct.
When you're talking about seconds, I mean, I grew up seeing my parents. My mother made sure everybody got fed before
Right.
she ate. And my father was always like, no, you feed the children, you feed yourself, and I'll take the last. So however it is set up in your household, whatever you do, that's fine. Generally, the way I do it, I make sure everybody's fed, because while I'm cooking, I'm tasting to make sure I'm giving you an excellent meal.
Hallelujah.
So by the time I sit down, 10 times out of 10, I'm full. And so I'm not going to eat until after everybody eats anyway.
Look at that. Check that out. Okay.
So, I mean,
Right.
that's the way, you know,
Right.
I do things. But, you know, when you talk about seconds, I mean, that's...
Yeah, but it was just like it was like a joke, though. I mean, basically, you know, I just wanted, you know, whatever that you're used to, whatever you're used to, I shouldn't, or a person shouldn't have to now begin to take away from what you're used to. And you're 100% correct. You have something to add, or? Oh, okay. Coachy? Oh, okay.
Joking anytime, no sis.
Yeah. So we're going to take our time and have a good time today, okay? Because, again, marriage is a union between two parties. Once that's in shalom, we can see what happens next. But I will say this. Yahuah Barukatah, any brother that's going to do a second Isha, oh my gosh. oh my, that's all I have to say is, oh my gosh. That is a mighty, mighty job. I got some other plans, you know. I got other plans, you know. I'm like Shai. I have to get some things. I want things established, you know, as I get older. But what we should be gathering here, and all of the sisters said this now, is that we're talking about being an asset to the relationship and being a liability to the relationship. And that applies now to both a monogamous relationship and a polygamous relationship. So again, in a monogamous relationship, you should be an asset to the relationship and not a liability. Nobody wants a burden in any situation. So again, what we're doing now is that we're trying to understand marriage, protecting the marriage, and that the marriage is actually a brand. It's a brand. We're going to go into that a little bit deeper. Now, it began to talk about in verse 10, it says that if a man takes another Isha, or even one Isha, her food, which is one, her raiment, which is two, and her duties of marriage should not diminish. What I found interesting now is that looking at this now on the Peshat level, or the plain level, of course, the food, the raiment and the shelter. That's very important. But again, if the Mashiyach is coming in the volume of the book, now, what are the other aspects or the spiritual applications we should be looking at in these three things that the man is supposed to be providing for his Isha? What I found was the word kasut. Again, Mishra, I'm going to tell you, we're going to have to make sure we understand exactly how to look at the scriptures from a Hebraic perspective, because marriage is the biggest thing that you can ever get yourself involved with. So we have the word kasut, and this is going to be my ket, my samak, or samek. We have the yod, and we have the tab, or the tat, and we have the word K, A, S, U, T, H, and it's the Strong's number 3682. So, we're going to look into that. Because every sister, we knocked the ball out of the park, and we're going to make sure that we got this thing correct here. Because marriage is a big responsibility. The word kasut, watch this now. It means covering, a covering. This man is supposed to not also assist or provide clothing for the woman, but we're also talking about covering. He's a covering for her. It has clothing, covering, cloth, covering. I'm reading this now from the Hebrew word study. Now the Brown-Strauber-Briggs definition gives us a cover, a garment. Figuratively, a veiling, covering, raiment, a vesture. When we begin to look at some of the root words of this, it shares with us the Hebrew word is kasak. The ket, the samak, and the hay. Kasak. And that's the Strong's number also, actually it's 3680. It means now, this man's responsibility now is to cover, to conceal, to hide, to be covered, to cover cloth, to cover, conceal, also for protection, to cover over, to spread over, to cover, overwhelm, to be covered. So we pretty much got the picture here. When we begin to look at the word cover, because I'm going to tell you again, every woman must have a covering. Every woman. If she's not married, she should be covered under a father. If the father's not alive, a mother. If the mother's not alive, the brethren. Somebody has to cover her. Somebody is always speaking on her behalf. I'm going to also say this too. Every single man needs a covering. And who is that covering? Yahusha. Exactly. So can the man do anything outside of his covering?
No.
This should be like basic, easy, one-on-one, but you would not believe the problems and the issues that I get when I say that. And so now, if the Mashiyach is covering the man, because we're talking about marriage and protecting the brand, if the Mashiyach is covering the man, who's covering the woman? Don't be afraid. I mean, unless you can be sleeping on the couch, in the dog house, whatever, then it's understandable. But it is the man's responsibility. We just got finished reading in the book of Exodus, the 21st chapter, the 10th verse. We're looking at the word covering. It is the man's responsibility to protect and cover his Isha. What's wrong with that?
No.
It's the law that the Father has set up from the very beginning. And then when you go down the line, if the Father is covering the Mashiyach, And the Mashiyach had no problems with that. No problem. So who is now covering the children?
The mother.
The mother. She's the first nourisher. All this time, the 9 or the 10 months that the baby is inside of the womb, who was actually carrying and nourishing the baby?
The mother.
It's the mother. And then once that day comes, we have servants and all these other things. The servants now will be under the nation of Israel. That's the chain of command. That's called protection, love, and protecting the brain. Easy. So, I mean, I don't know why it's such a problem, but you would not believe it is a major, major problem. I mean, we do, and I do understand when the sisters say, listen, you know what, that the man has to be in Torah. Absolutely. The woman, she has to be in Torah too. The woman doesn't want a man that's going to verbally or physically abuse her, and the man doesn't want the woman to verbally abuse him either. Because the man, because of testosterone, he's bigger, he's stronger by nature, he can physically and verbally abuse her. But I've seen some men who've been destroyed, simply destroyed. Their manhood completely taken away from them because of the sister that she's with, because she's verbally abusive. Verbally abusive, so it works both ways. Everybody has to understand marriage and protecting the brain. That's the only way that we can be in accord, in shalom, in one accord. Now, let's show some more of this. We'll go to the book of Jeremiah. Like I said, we're going to take our time with this. The book of Jeremiah. We all know where we're going. 3:14. Those out there in YouTube land or Facebook, and those of us in the congregation, we should be all good. I mean, everybody got a chance to speak, but the sisters did anyway. And nothing should be hurting anybody's feelings. Jeremiah 3:14. It says, turn or return, O backsliding children, saith Yahuah, or Yahuah. For I am married unto you, and I will take you one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion. Now, what's going to be interesting about this word married here is that we have different words. Oh, another thing too. When you think of cover, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Sukkot. Right, Sukkot is right, to tabernacle with, the word Sukkot, to tabernacle with. What if we said, we look at the word cover, and we have the word Tanak, for the pins. We have the word Kippur. All right, Kippur. Because this is the day of atonement, and where your sins are now forgiven. And we're looking at something a little bit further on in the future with the blood of Mashiyach, where he's not just covering, but he's going to actually now remove the sins and the transgressions of the nation of Yashra'al. So the covering acts as a sign of forgiveness. And this is what the Mashiach's word was all about. It was about repentance and choose to return. Let's just do it that way. So again, return or turn or backsliding children, saith Yahuah, for I am married unto you, and the word married here is Baal.
Oh, really?
Baal. That's the word for marriage here. And we have the word Baal, we have Lord. We're talking about context here. Lord, Master. Okay, I'm going to use my scholars here to check the spelling. that sovereign? Is that all right?
That's right.
Okay, so we have Lord, Master, Sovereign, Master, so that's pretty much about it. So I just found that interesting. There's nothing wrong, let me say this again, there's nothing wrong with it.
There's one more key.
Oh, E, right here?
R-E.
R-E. I.
I-G.
Oh, okay, hallelujah. So there's nothing wrong with in Isha referring to her each as Lord, Master, or Sovereign, as long as he's following Torah. Because again, everything is based upon a marriage. And what we're trying to show is the way that the Father is interacting with us is how we're supposed to be interacting with our Ishas. That is the perfect example of a marriage when we begin to look at how the Father is actually dealing with the nation of Yashra'al. And this is a very high title to have, to be considered a Lord, Master, a Sovereign. And just as Sarah, she obeyed Abraham in calling him Baal, Lord, Master, or Sovereign. It's just a title of respect, the same way that down in the South, I had to get used to it, where a lot of times the younger call the older people like sir and ma'am. And so I had to get used to that. It's still like respectful. I'll just say, hello, how you doing, and things like that. But my grandfather, they were like, listen, you know what? It's sir and ma'am. So it's a title, it's showing respect, where things are coming from. And so again, Baal means Lord, Master, or Sovereign. Let's go to the book of Hosea. The book of Hosea, the 2nd chapter. Second chapter, and again, marriage, protecting the brand. Hosea, the 2nd chapter, verses 19 and 20. The Father of Yahuah sent his Son, Yahusha, Mashiyach, to be that atoning sacrifice for the nation of Yashra'al. And it says, I will betroth you unto me for how long?
Forever.
Forever. Now, marriages are forever. Forever means forever. It is the perfect will of Yahuah for us to be together forever. It is a permissive will, meaning because of the hardness of our hearts that we have separations and divorces. Let me just say this. Separations and divorces are not of the Father, Yahuah. It is not. Not. That is not the perfect will, but this came about because, again, of the hardness of our hearts. So again, I will betroth you unto me forever. Yes, I will betroth you unto me in righteousness. So righteousness is the key, and in judgment, and in loving kindness, and in mercies. Verse 20, I will even betroth you unto me in faithfulness, and thou shalt know that I am your, let's put this here, husband. That word right there is not a word that we can use lightly. And now, we're going to beat up on the men a little bit. All right? Not every man is deserving of this title right here. No. Not every man. Because the scripture tells us now that in order now to be a husband, it gave us the definition. It said that this man now must, in verse 19 again, I will betroth you to me in righteousness. So this man must portray the characteristics of being righteous. He must use right judgment. He must show kindness to his Isha, mercy to his Isha. He must be faithful to his Isha, all in the name of the Father Yahuah. So again, we as men have a very big responsibility. This is the reason why I only wanted to hear the sisters' responses now regarding Exodus, the 21st chapter, verse 10. we as men have a very big responsibility. And the reason why we have a big responsibility, because I believe it's in the book of Ephesians, what is it, the first chapter, where it talks about the woman is supposed to reverence her each as into Yahuah. Is the fourth? Ephesians the fourth?
4 or 5.
Okay, so this is the responsibility. Now, if this Isha, if the Isha now is to reverence you, she's to look at you as her Lord, her master, her sovereign, and her husband. He must fit those characteristics that we just brought out in the book of Hosea, the second chapter, verses 20 to 21. That's going to be very important. Now, love. L-O-V-E, and we have the Hebrew word in ancient Hebrew, and then we have the aleph, the hey, and the bet in the Aramaic or the modern Hebrew. Well, you might see it this way, but it means love. And love is only this. Love is akkad. All right? Love is akkad. If you're not in akkad, there is no love. If there's separation, there is no love. Divorce, obviously, there's no love. So in order to be in unison, in order to identify marriage and protecting the brand, you must be in love the way that the Father is in love with us, and you must be in akkad. Now, what stuck out to you the most in the book of Hosea, the second chapter, verses 19 and 20? What stuck out the most? And just to give you a clue, we're looking at repetition. What stood out in verses 19 and 20?
Bro.
Hallelujah. How you spell that?
B-E-T-H. No, B-E-T-R.
Betroth, right?
Yeah,
So.
Yeah, no H.
Oh.
No H between that T and the R.
Yeah.
No H?
Yeah.
Okay. See, we got my scholars on deck here. See, don't get old. Don't get old. Let's get on the treadmill and see if I can do 3 miles in less than 23 minutes. Keep the blood circulating. I ain't hold nothing back, right? I mean, let's put it all out here. So, we see that word being used, betrothed, 3 times. I am betrothed unto you, I am betrothed to you, I am betrothed to you 3 times. 3 times represents what? The intensity of the love that the Father has for you. So, if you're talking about the intensity, if he's talking about the word love or betrothed 3 times. The word 3 times also represents life and death, or death and resurrection. Is that correct, or is this 2 bars? Okay, so looking at the Mashiyach, his life, the 3 stages. The Mashiach's life and ministry proved his love for the nation of Israel. His death proved the love and intensity of the love for the nation of Israel. And his resurrection, okay, his resurrection proved his love for the nation of Yashra'al. So we have the 3 steps, okay, is your life, dedicating your life, your death, and the resurrection. These 3 principles here brought us now into an everlasting covenant with the Father. Everybody sees that? 3 days, 3 nights, 3 times, betrothed, betrothed, betrothed. We're talking about in a marriage that if the Mashiyach had to live his life according to Torah and had to die, and even in death, the resurrection still didn't break the connection or the marriage that the Father, or what that the Mashiyach had with the nation of Israel. But we do know that with death, the relationship is now severed. The Isha, she can now marry someone else. But I'm just trying to share here now is that the marriage is bound by a contract to death. The Father is not in the business of divorce and separation. That is the work of the adversary. We keep on going with this, we're going to keep on going. Now, this is where it just listen. Just listen now, all right? We're going to erase some of this here. Marriage and protecting the brand. By the Mashiyach dying, he's protecting the brand. We're going to find out what that brand is. But watch how this works now, because it's been a long time coming. Hebrew marriage, the definition. The Bible, well, the Bible's explanation of marriage is extremely, when I say extremely, it is extremely different from that of the modern Western culture. It is different. Marriage has changed 1,000,000 times throughout the centuries. 1,000,000 times. To the point where 2 men can now get married. 2 women can get married. A full-grown man in certain cultures now can marry little girls 7 years old, 8 years old, full-grown men. There's been situations in Ethiopia where big grown men have married, when I say little girls, I mean little tiny girls. And it got to the point where they messed up the little girls so bad because of the sexual intercourse, where they said that the little girl was not pleasing to them. So they sent the little girl back to the parents all busted up in all kind of craziness. So a lot of things have changed and it's perverted. China now has a sex doll, and you can marry the sex doll. They said anybody ever see that? I don't know if they're making stuff up. You know that. Somebody's going over the tent. What the heck is he talking about? But you can do these things. You can marry trees. You can marry wells and animals and dogs and all these things you can do. You can give. I don't know. It was reported that Leona Helmsley, she owned Waldorf Astoria down here on Madison Avenue, New York. They said that she left her entire fortune to one of her dogs.
Wow.
You know, so it just, the concept and the idea of marriage and protecting the brand has changed. So marriage has changed many times over throughout the centuries. Now, watch this. This is not to offend anybody, but it is what it is, and we're going to show some scripts to prove this. If biblical marriages was enforced today, if biblical marriages was enforced today, June the 26th, 2018, 90% and greater of all marriages will be dissolved in 1 year. If biblical, see, all right, here we go. All right, if biblical marriages, the way that it's outlined in Torah, marriage and protecting the brand, if biblical marriages was enforced today, June the 16th, 2018, 90% and greater of all marriages will be dissolved within a year. A year. Anybody know why?
A lot of people may not have even been in a position to get married in the first place.
Meaning they might not have been in the position where it's a forced marriage or something?
No, as far as like what was actually called like a dowry and different
Right.
things like that, and what you had to have in order to even be able to get married, as far as being able to provide and the things that were listed. A lot of people didn't even have that.
Exactly, 100%. So when I say now that biblical marriages, unfortunately, 90% of all marriages would be dissolved in a year, this is not an attack on women. I'm talking about both the men and the women. You see, because it takes two to actually come together. So there would be an issue with both parties if we were now to actually follow the guidelines, the way that the Father had it from the very beginning. 90% and greater of the marriages would fail within 1 year. And one of the reasons, put it this way, now I'll go back to that. Anybody have any more suggestions on why they believe that it might fail within 1 year?
Father's
Yes.
not around. The father's not there to give his daughter away.
Absolutely. Hallelujah. So the covering is not there. The father's not there. He's not there to actually examine the young man that's interested in his daughter. And so now she's left on her own, and she's now looking at now only the physical attributes of the man, meaning now is that he looks good. That's it. He's tall, dark, and handsome, or light-skinned, dark, and handsome, whatever. But you know what? She's only looking at the outer layer, and she's not looking at the inner man. And being that she's not looking at the inner man, this is the reason why the marriage is not going to work. Yahuah, our expert, our young man, he's new in marriage, so he's going to share with us why we say if biblical marriages was enforced today, 90% and greater of all marriages would be dissolved within a year. 1 year, and we have Shalak, he hit the button on Family Feud, so he has which your response? What you got?
I was going to say, I believe it will happen because the way that this system is set up and the way that marriage is set up these days,
Right.
biblical marriage or scriptural marriage holds each person to a level of accountability that this system does not.
Uh-huh.
So when faced with scriptural marriage, the marriage that we're doing now will actually cause it to crumble because the level of accountability is not something we're used to.
Absolutely. Now watch this. When we get married according to, okay, let me know, right? When we get married according to the laws of the land, all right? You go down to the courthouse or you go to your church or whatever it is that you do, you go before this person, you and your Isha, and on that marriage certificate, you have, I guess, the judge's name and the stamp and everything like that, and I now pronounce you man and wife. And so this is what I'm finding the problem with. The way that Western culture do marriages. Can we hold on for a second? All right. Want to make sure that we get all of this here. All of this here. Want to get all of it. Good? Okay. All right, so what happens now when we get married according to the laws of the land, it says, by the power invested in me, I now pronounce you man and wife. So the judge of the land is actually giving you that authority. But watch this. What if your marriage was governed upon a ketubah? Big difference. Major difference. I'm going to say this. If you're having problems, issues, bringing up the past, blah, 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 whatever it is that's going on in your marriage, I guarantee you, if you do this ketubah, and the reason why I'm an advocate of ketubah is because it sets the rules and the regulations in the congregation, in the marriage. That's what it does. The do's and the don'ts. If there's a problem or an issue, you bring the ketubah down to the elder or the judges of the city, and listen, you know what? Well, Asad Abbas said he's going to do X, Y, and Z. He's not doing it. Oh, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Okay then, like Kaden shared with me, okay, on page number 4, Kasadabai, you did say that you're going to take out the trash every Tuesday. All right? So again, that ketubah is going to be very, very important. I guarantee you that 90% rate, okay, will decrease tremendously as long as we have rules and regulations that are governing now your marriage. When it says by the power invested in me versus now with the ketubah now, what it does now, it says now by the authority of the Father of Yahuah, I will be doing this. Because when we was at Mount Sinai and Moshe now is acting as a mediator, all the words that Israel said, Moshe goes to the mount and it says, and he delivers the message, he goes back down, all the words that you have said we will do. And it is a witness to us to this very day. We are still bound by a contract. And that's what it is.
Hallelujah.
It's a contract. Now, don't you want to know what you're getting yourself involved with? Sisters, don't you want to know what you're getting yourself involved with? Because this is your time to speak. Sisters don't care. As long as he's tall, dark, and handsome, they're not saying anything, so it's okay for them. All right? They're not saying anything. But what I just wanted to bring out also, too, is that I truly recommend that you get yourself a ketubah. Every marriage should have a ketubah. Every single one. Now, if you don't have a ketubah, I'm not saying that, you're going to die in rotten hell and all this other stuff. I never said that. But in order to keep the shalom in your house, say, baby, listen, you know what? To keep this relationship going and to make it stronger, let's do a ketubah. If she says no, you got a problem. If you present or want to present your Isha with a ketubah, because this is now a contract that's bound by the rules and regulations of Torah. Because this is what happens. With the ketubah, the reason why I won't break the ketubah, because I know the consequences of breaking the ketubah. And what is the consequences of breaking the ketubah?
Separation.
It got a little bit more serious than that. Death. This is the contract of death. This is a death contract. Because I'm going to tell you something. With the law of the land, you can do anything that you want to do. I feel this way, I feel that way. And the woman, she can take you to court, take all of this, take that, and leave you homeless on the streets. But you know what? That ketubah is a little bit more different. A little bit different. Because you know what? Now I'm afraid to break this here. I'm not going to pay too much respect to this here. But this right here, I'm afraid of the consequences. So it's going to force me now to be on my best behavior. The ketubah forces the Isha to be on my best behavior. Weddings should be bound by a contract, an agreement. So any woman that says that she does not want a ketubah, wow. I could never imagine a woman not wanting a ketubah. Now, the reason why, again, I'm going to read it one more time. If biblical marriages was enforced today in June 16, 2018, which is today, 90% and greater of all marriages would be dissolved within a year. And the reason why, and everybody's reasons were correct. The reason why they would dissolve is because marriage is a commitment. Marriage this way, through the judicial system, or through Western society, is not based upon a commitment. There's no commitment with that. This is the reason why you see the stars, the basketball, all these people here, they marry and marry and marry and marry and marry. And women go through man, through man, through man, through man, through man. And she doesn't understand that every time she goes through men, through man, through man, she's interconnected with all of these men. So they're marrying and they're given in marriage. And these are the laws of the land. But with the ketubah, she ain't going nowhere. She can't go nowhere. You're bound by the contract until death. That's the reason why we brought out now the book of Hosea, the 2nd chapter, verses 19 and 20, when we talked about the fervent love that the Mashiyach had for the bride, the death and the resurrection. You go to the book of Romans, the 7th chapter, and it talks about now how I speak to those that know the law, how that the Isha and the Isha bound together, okay, as long as they're both parties are living, obviously, but when he or she dies, then they're both free to marry another. But the Isha is a little bit different. She can't have two Ishas. You got to go up into the Egyptology or whatever it is that you want to do if you want to practice that, not in Hebrew culture. But just to share now is that death is the thing that separates us from the ketubah. So marriage is a commitment. And to prove now that marriage is a commitment, and you just can't walk away and do all this other stuff. Now again, domestic violence and things of that sort, people are just violent towards one another. You bring it to the council, and the council says, listen, you know what? You guys need to actually go your own separate ways. Because we never, yes.
Are you allowed to make an amendment to the ketubah later on if something comes up and you realize, okay, we left this out, this is something we'd like to put in now?
Absolutely, 100%, 100%. You can definitely do that because there's life changes as you grow older. For example, now that you bring that up, there was a situation where a brother was he would work, and the Isha, she could stay home. Well, the brother, he got into a little accident and he wasn't able to work. So she wanted to still hold him to the contract. Well, listen, you said that you were going to work and provide. Yeah, baby, I did say that, but look at the circumstances now. The lights are about to be turned out. The mortgage is due. I need for you now to be an asset also to the relationship. Can you at least pick up some type of work, okay, like sleeping for the next 3 or 4 months until my leg heals? No. You said that you was going to take care of me.
Stage 4.
Yeah, exactly. This is what you said. So, can't they put you on some type of what did they call that now? If you're sick and you still go to work?
Short term.
Light duty. Light duty. But baby, can't they put you on light duty? Can't you like walk to work with your crutches and you can? So these things here. So to make a long story short, yes, absolutely. You can definitely add to it, but you don't want to take anything away from it. So that's also very important. So the book of Yahuah, the book of Jeremiah, the 31st chapter, verse 3. And marriage is a commitment. It's a commitment. And this is all based upon how the Father is dealing with the nation of Yashra'al, and this is how we're supposed to interact with one another. 31:3. Yahuah hath appeared of old unto me, Yahusha, saying, yes, I have loved you with an
everlasting?
Everlasting.
Oh, all right.
That's a commitment. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, with loving kindness have I drawn you. Meaning now this, too. Brothers, there is nothing wrong with showing the Isha love and attention. Nothing wrong with that. That does not take away from your manhood.
Sure don't.
Does not. Actually, that shows your strength. Maybe let's go out to the movies, let's go out to dinner. All these things here because everybody wants to feel appreciated. Everybody. And I guarantee you, if you're in shalom with your Isha and your Isha is in shalom with you, you can even understand and go through the scriptures a lot better. guarantee you, if there's strife, turmoil, and bitterness in your house, you can't concentrate, you can't work properly, and you would not be able to do the Father's will properly if you have problems and confusion in your home. If you're fighting outside of your home with the enemy, and then you have to cross your threshold into your own house and still have problems, how can you concentrate and do the Father's work?
Sure can.
So what affects the groom affects the bride. What affects the bride affects the groom. This is the reason why it's called a Mishpachah, a family, and a Chad. So again, marriage is about a commitment, and I'm using the Mashiach's relationship with the nation of Yashra'al, showing us now that this is an everlasting commitment. Because the Father could have destroyed each and every last one of us a long time ago. It takes patience to deal with the nation of Yashra'al. Patience. Because we know how we are.
A little bit.
Oh man, please. Boy.
Long suffering.
Yeah, that is a lot of long suffering. A long time. Since the time of the sin that happened in the garden, up until now, June the 16th, 2018, and the Father is still trying to work with the nation of Yashra'al. But let something go wrong in your relationships now. No love, no temperance, no forgiveness. Everything is hard-hearted. In those days, men and women should love one another, marry and give it into marriage. That doesn't work. You go into the next relationship. But the Father is showing us now how to have love, patience, kindness, and forgiveness towards one another. So let's go ahead. We want some scriptures here. Talking a lot, we want scriptures. Yahuah have appeared of old time saying, yes, I have loved you with an everlasting love. And everybody said that they believe and understand that everlasting means everlasting. The Father is still upholding the covenant that he made with our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Therefore, with loving kindness have I joined thee. The book of Deuteronomy, or Devarim, the 7th chapter. Deuteronomy 7. Deuteronomy 7. And again, if you can, Mishpachah, I'm telling you, get that ketubah. I believe it's not written in, well, I believe that it's written in Scripture. It's just going to be how the other person is actually reading it. I believe that everybody, according to Scripture, should have a ketubah. If it's not a ketubah and your marriage is this way, I believe that you will have more success in your relationship if you have a ketubah. I don't want, by the power invested in me, I now pronounce you man and wife. I want it under the guidelines, rules, and regulations of Torah. That's the way that I want mine's done. So to each his own. Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, 7 through 9. Watch this. It says, and Yahuah did not set his love upon you, each one of us here in this congregation, nor choose you because you were more in number than any people. For if that was the case, let me let you know this, for you were the fewest of all people. But because Yahuah loved you, and because he would keep the word shamar, and because he would keep the oath, the promise. Promises are kept where? In the ketubah.
All right.
That's your witness. The Father's always writing things down. Always. Just like I said last week, the week before that, and the week before that. This is all the stage. One big stage. And you have the messengers sitting back. The Melachim, the messengers are sitting back, writing down every single thing. Writing it down. Writing it down. How did Kasada Ba? I just, Gabar Yahuah, is it Gabar Yahuah or Gabar Yahuah still? Gabar Yahuah. So, Gabar Yahuah, everything has been written down, so that day of judgment, all right, bring Gabar Yahuah up here. All right? Let's see. On such and such date, this is how you handle this situation. Why? Why? Everything is being recorded. Never believe that what you did yesterday went unattended and the father didn't see it. Don't believe it. How many times, the father's eyes are what, how many times brighter than the sun?
10 times.
Whew, okay. Sometimes in the morning, man, I'm driving, as Ariella know, man, we drive early in the morning, man. Sometimes it seems like that sun is sitting right on your dashboard. I mean, you can't even see. So imagine, 10 times brighter than that, just to give you an example. So again, back to scriptures now. The book of Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter. Oh, excuse me.
Now that I think about it, he said that his eyes are actually 10,000 times.
10,000.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa, you just lied to me.
10,000 times.
Whoa! Whoa! Wow. So you know what? So you just shared with me, I need to be extra careful. Wow. Okay. Hallelujah. To God for that as I came. Man. Okay. All right. Verse 8. Because Yahuah loved you, and because he would keep the oath that he has sworn unto your fathers, our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, hath Yahuah brought us out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Verse 9. Now therefore, that Yahuah, your Elohim, or your husband, he is an Elohim, watch this, he is faithful, he keepeth covenants, or covenant, and mercy with them that love him, and keepeth his commandments to how long?
1,000 generations.
That's commitment. Commitment. An Ish is committed to his Isha through marriage. He's protecting the brand. He's protecting the marriage. A ketubah now is going to actually put every single thing in order. That's what it does. It places everything in order. And we do have a brother that is licensed, okay, who is licensed now to actually marry. You want to do a ketubah, the whole hoopah, the whole 9 yards. A hoopah, yeah, the covering, because the hoopah represents the covering. And when Israel was at Mount Sinai, the cloud was over the mount. That cloud represents the hoopah. And so when Israel said, I do, you can actually be married under a hoopah, where now you're representing that the father is now covering or protecting your marriage. And you're respecting now is that your Ish is now covering you. And with the marriage ceremony, like we have demonstrated so many times, where the Ish is on the right-hand side facing her, the Isha is now on the left-hand side facing him, and they're watching each other's back. They're actually covering one another. This is what they're actually doing. But it shows now is that we're now in unison, working together because we're married or in marriage, we're protecting the brand, and everything now is based upon the ketubah and not based upon Western society. It's not based upon that, it's different. So verse 9 again. Now therefore that Yahuah, your Elohim, he is an Elohim that is faithful, that keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him, which is very important. Love is very important. Because a sister posted on Facebook one time is that, do you really have to love your Ish in order to be married to him? Well, that was a no-brainer. I don't know. This is what we're getting to now. Marriages without love. And don't even, it's not, if there's no love, then it's not a marriage. Also, so he keepeth these things for 1,000 generations. The book of Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter, verse 15. We're talking about marriage is a commitment. Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter, verse 15. It says, only Yahuah, or your Lord, your master, your sovereign, in context, when we say Baal, we're talking about in context. We're not talking about the adversary. That's not what we're doing here. We're talking about your husband. So only Yahuah have delight in your fathers. That's personal. Again, only Yahuah have delight in your fathers to love them. And he chose their seed, which is all of us here now. You're still bound by this ketubah, this contract, and this brand. We're still under that. And he chose their seed after them, even you above all people, as it is this day. Verse, that's what I wanted to bring out here. Now, I got some kickback from this here, but I'm going to show it in scriptures, and I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. Again, biblical marriages, if biblical marriages was enforced today, 90% and greater of all marriages would be dissolved within a year. And the reason why is because there is no commitment. What I'm sharing in scripture now is that the Mashiyach, the Father through the Mashiyach now, marriage is about a commitment. Marriage is also it's a business. Everybody knew that, right?
Yep.
It's a business. And people are afraid to understand marriage, two parties coming together to form a bond, like Coach Shai and I was talking a little bit earlier about your investment. What are you going to do now when you're no longer able to work? So you need to be with a partner now that has the same ideas, the same mindset as you have, because we're looking for how the relationship is going to now endure long term. So your Ish and the Isha must be a business partner. If he or she is not a business partner, well, it's not a marriage. Now, what I'm trying to do is to uplift both men and women. All right? So I'm about to say this here. Don't take it personal, especially with the sisters. There is nowhere in Scripture where it says that a woman is supposed to be a baby-making machine. It's not there. I'm going to say it again. There is nowhere in Scripture where it says that a woman is supposed to be a baby-making machine. Now, truth be told, if any man wanted a baby, he doesn't have to marry a woman. But what you're looking for is a commitment, a business partner, and you're looking for a marriage, is what you're looking for. And so now, the woman now must be able to do more than just have babies. Just sit on the couch all day, get big, fat, and sloppy, okay, and just have babies all over the place. And she can't take care of the babies, and so now she's not a business partner. Yes. There's been women now that they just give the babies away. So what type of partner is that? Can she go to the store and buy baby things, Pampers, and all these things here? So she has to be educated. What else can you do? And I say this all the time. And again, this is not to make anybody feel bad. I'm sure that's not. But anybody can have intercourse. So what else can you do?
Right. After
all of that is done, this way, that way, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then I'm hungry now. What else? Can you cook? I'm hungry now. You done took all my energy now. I'm ready to eat. What else can you do? Can I leave here? Can I leave home? Trust you with the finances, okay? And on Friday, depend on you that the bills were paid, if that's how your situation is in the house. Because if she's not a business partner, guess what's going to happen come Friday?
She don't know how business runs.
Lights
The lights are out.
Woo.
The mortgage is not paid.
on.
No hot water. There's no Pampers for the baby. There's no nothing. She done took all of the money now and got her nails done. Yes. Bought Prada bags and Gucci bags. That's not the type of woman that you're looking for. And the man, he done spent all his money in pool. He went to Atlantic City and he pulled the slot machines. He lost all of his money. So again, I'm just trying to share this because that a marriage is a union between two or more parties, and they're protecting the brand. You have to be committed. It should be a ketubah. and she must, or he must be a business partner. Yes.
I guess that scripture, Sirach kind of explains like what she was saying, where it's saying that a man that begets a woman begins in possession, a help like unto himself.
Hallelujah. Absolutely.
A help, she's a help,
Just like him.
Exactly.
Himself,
Absolutely, 100% correct. Absolutely. So let's see. Did the Mashiyach at any point describe to us that a marriage is a business? Let's go to the book of Luke. Just bear with me just a little bit, Mr. Cole. We're almost done. The book of Luke, the 2nd chapter, verse 49. I'm sorry, verse 48. 48, 2, 48, 49. And when they saw him, they were amazed. And his mother said unto him, Son, why hast thou thus dealt with us? Behold, your father and I have sought you sorry. He, the Mashiyach, said unto them, How was it that you sought me? Were you not that I must be about my father's business? What the Mashiyach is trying to explain to us, and when he's trying to explain to his mother and father, is that he has a relationship with the Father. It's a business relationship. In order for the business to prosper, the business to succeed, it's a business. The Isha is expecting the Ish to do his part in the business. And the Ish is expected the same thing from the Isha. That's the only way that it can work. Because I hate hearing, oh, the man is supposed to do this, all these things. I'm like, then you're now a liability. If a woman is telling me that I must do this, I'm like, well, why can't we do these things together as a business? Now, I would take now the bulk of the load. I would do that, no problem. The overtimes and all these things like that, granted, I would do that because the man, he is the forerunner. He's going to actually put that extra effort in. But you're not expecting your Isha to get her hands dirty. We're not expecting that to happen. But the man, he acts as the forerunner for everything. We're talking about a good business partner. We're talking about doing the Father's business. And the Mashiyach came to do the Father's business, so we should also have the same mindset. In business, we must make sure that the Father's business is done first, and the Father's business is making sure that the household is straight and is put together properly. Okay, let's speed it up here a little bit. The book of John. Did I read all of that? Yes, I did. Okay, the book of John, the 14th chapter. If you ask a person, what are their goals, their long-term endeavors, and they can't tell you. Because again, we should all be working, because I don't know when the Father is coming. He's going to send the Mashiyach back. But I believe, and I would tell you, you better get to work. Because we just don't know. And I'm going to say this, and I know a lot of people is not going to agree with it, but to each his own. If you need to go to school to further your education so you can get a better job, you better go ahead and do it.
That's right.
All right? You better do whatever it is that you need to do to be able to sustain yourself, because you see what this guy is doing in office now. He's cutting a lot of social programs. Things are just getting real rough now. And we're only at the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble. We are not in it, because we haven't seen anything yet. But if you're not preparing yourself for long-term monies, you might have a problem. You might have a problem later on down the line. So make sure that you have a nice, strong foundation, making sure that you're following Torah, but you must make sure that them shekels are still coming in. And just for an example, the average apartment goes for about $1,500 a month if you want to live comfortably. Mortgages is run down based upon how you want to live, anywhere between $2,500 to $3,000 a month. You're talking about house insurance, car payments, water bills, light bills, property taxes. This is what we're into now. And a Burger King job is not going to be able to make it. Guarantee you. So you better make sure that you're able to sustain yourself. This is the reason why I say both the male and the female must be an asset to the relationship. And this is a business partner. This is a marriage because you're now protecting the brand. Everybody must work. If you don't work, you don't eat. So, you better make sure that you're prepared because anything can happen. I tell my Yahusha all the time, listen, you know what? The business part has to be kept up to par. I could be driving the truck, something can happen, you know what? I'm no longer here. Now what are you going to do? The way that I see it, it takes two incomes. What's going to happen when the next party is no longer here with us? Mr. Carr, this is serious. This is very, very serious, because I tell you about my own personal situation. Listen, you know what? It would be hell. I mean, if I tried to do everything at just a one salary. Unless you want to live in the hood where when you go to work and you come back home, your stuff is not going to be there no more. And there's a certain way that I like to live. All right, so it's going to take two incomes in my situation. But again, to each his own. The book of John, we're going to speed this up here a little bit. Again, 4 and 10. We're talking about business, being a business partner. We're talking about marriage. We're talking about commitment. 10:14. 14:10, excuse me. Oh, the book of John. The book of John. I will tell you the book of John. Just want to make sure that everybody is prepared. John 14 and 10, excuse me. John 14. John 14 and 10. 9 and 10, excuse me. The Mashiyach said unto him, have I been so long with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that hath seen me hath seen the Father. And how sayest you then, show us the Father? Verse 10, believest thou not that I am in the Father? You're talking about a business now. And the Father in me? The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the work. So what I'm trying to share here now with verses 9 and 10 is that the Son emulates the Father.
That's right.
It's a business. In order for the business to succeed, there must be a partnership with your significant other. And the significant other in this aspect, what we're doing right now, is the Father. And its relationship now with the Mashiyach's relationship with the Son. And if you have seen the Mashiyach, you have seen the Father. In the business deal, if you have seen my Isha, you have seen me. If you see my Isha, you have, I can get this right. If you have seen my Isha, you see me. You see my Isha, you see me. So that's the one. That's the akad. That's the oneness that we're talking about here. We're talking about making. We want the relationship to work. It has to work. We're talking about shalom here. Okay, we're going to speed it up. The book of John, the 5th chapter. The 5th chapter, 17 to 20. But the Mashiyach answered them, my Father worketh, business. My Father worketh. Hereto I work. The Father worketh, the Mashiyach worketh. Therefore the Yahudim sought the Lord to kill the Mashiyach, not only because he had broken the Shabbat, but said also that Elohim was his father, making himself equal with the Father. Now, is the Mashiyach equal to the Father? No. Hallelujah. And this is real easy. We have the Father, all right? With creation, we have now the Father going into himself, and when the Father goes into himself, he brings out a firstborn, which is the Mashiyach. He goes into himself and brings out an image of himself. So the Mashiyach is in the image of the Father. When we look at the Genesis 1, 2, and 3, chapters 1, 2, and 3, the Mashiyach now goes into himself and he brings out Adam. You see how this is working? Mm-hmm. The Mashiyach uses Adam and goes into Adam and brings out Eve. Right. And so the man goes into the woman and the woman brings forth children. This is the business. This is the covering. This is how it works. If it's not done this way with the proper coverings, the Father goes into himself, brings out the Mashiyach. The Mashiyach goes into himself, brings out Adam. Goes into Adam, brings out Eve. The man goes into the woman and brings forth children. That's the way that it works. But with some sisters, you're going to have a whole lot of problems with that. Because I don't need him. And I can go to him. And I look, and I look, and I look. And they'll swear up and down that there's nothing wrong with that picture. Okay, to each his own again. But the Mashiyach answered them, my Father worketh hereto I work, therefore the Yahuah. So you read that, verse 19. Then answered the Mashiyach and said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing, and nothing means nothing, nothing of himself, but what he seeth the Father do, for what things soever he doeth, these also do the Son likewise. Verse 20. For the Father loveth the Son, and showeth him all things that himself doeth, and he will show him greater. Our marriage is protected. Our marriage is about protecting the brand. When I say the brand, and we'll be done, the brand. Anybody know what the brand is? Protecting the brand. Protecting the brand.
The institution of marriage?
Love,
Yes, all those answers are correct. There's something particular. We have the marriage, the coming together of two parties. We talked about commitment. We talked about commitment. We talked about business. But what is the brand?
The image.
Yeah. Oh, who's
the name?
Right, there we go. The Shem. The name. That's what we're protecting. The name. That's extremely important. Protecting the name. Because, watch this. Akoti Shaya, she can share some information with this. As a nurse, she works for such and such hospital, and as long as she's working for the hospital, she has to protect the brand, the name. So she's walking now in the image of the company. Even you, Parag. With you working out, you're protecting the brand. So now there's a certain way that you must behave, conduct yourself, because you are an image of the brand. So there's a marriage, there's a business agreement that you have now with the owners, and it's your responsibility now to protect the brand. Now, if you're doing something that's not right, you're not representing the brand, and what they're going to do now, they're going to sever now the business partnership that you have. So the relationship that the Father has with us now is that we must, by all intent now, we must protect the marriage, and you protect the marriage is by protecting the brand, and the brand is the Shem, and the Shem is the name. Watch this, and this is how it will be done. Watch this. Book of Bereshit. Book of Bereshit. Book of Genesis. The second chapter. I was just thinking of something. This is the second chapter, verses 20 to 24.
What is it?
The book of Genesis.
Second chapter?
Yeah, it said to sodomize up. I thought it was going to be longer than an hour. But just hold on just for a minute, Mr. God. Just hold on. This is the Shabbat. I mean, I just have a good time. I'm not going to see you until next week. Let's try to have some fun. Okay, I'm going to make this real quick though. And Adam gave names to all cattle and to the fowls of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a help meet for him. Now, in biblical Hebrew, they say that the word Ezra, we have the word for help, is the word Ezra, and it's saying that in biblical Hebrew it means strength and power. Now, the reason why certain women are using rather the biblical Hebrew definition versus helpmate is because, as I'm sure you probably heard, they say that Adam and Eve are now equal.
That's not true.
So, I do agree that she's supposed to have strength and power in the business affair, because you go to the book of Proverbs, the 31st chapter, remember how we see all of those things that woman is able to do? She has marketing skills. She's able to go to the market, because she's not a dummy. She's able to now buy silk, linen, flax. She's able to provide for the house. So only a woman that has intelligence is able to do that. Can you imagine giving Yahusha some money to go to the grocery store, and she can't balance the $100 in getting the things for the house? Where she goes to the store now and she buys, you said, listen, this $100, for example, can you get groceries now for the rest of the week? Okay, and she comes back with a $60 porterhouse steak, and she comes back with food just for that night or 2 days. But as a business partner, as we see in Proverbs, the 31st chapter now, that she's an aide and an assistant. She's able to make decisions. Every man wants a woman now that's able to make decisions once he says, listen, you know what? This is what I want, or what we need for the household. So again, I'm more inclined to use this, the helpmate, and this is not to minimize women. And the reason why I'm using that is because before Eve was introduced to Adam, he had everything already set up. The animals were already named. The Father had already told him to guard, to shamar the garden. He already had a relationship with the man before the Isha. He needed a business partner with procreation and helping now to maintain the garden is what he needed. So I just want to make sure that we keep everything in its proper context. This is not to minimize women, but men, Ishas, you and your woman, you're not of the same, you're not equal. You're not. I'm not equal to the Mashiyach. The Mashiyach is not equal to the Father, but everybody now, if they understand their prospective roles in the walk, we can function. That's how the marriage works. This is the reason why a ketubah is very important. Two people can't drive the car. Like my brother was telling me, one to a tomb, one to a tomb, one to the womb, one to the tomb. You know, so it's like that. You know, so I just found that interesting when he was sharing that with me. But watch this now. So there was not a help me on Ezra. And another thing too now is that this word Ezra, anybody know when the next time that word shows up? Ezra. We have, I think that's how you spell it. Eliezer. And he was actually now an assistant or a help to Abraham. So, I don't have a problem with strength and power, but if you're going to try to now equate that with we're on the same level, no, I'm going to have to disagree, just the way that Eliezer was not on the same level with Abraham. Because when Abraham said, listen, you know what? That Eliezer will be an heir. He said, no, he won't be an heir. So it would not equal on the same playing field as far as covenants were concerned. He could not be an heir. So that's another lesson here. So I just wanted to share that. But watch how this goes now. Let's speed this up. There's a lot here. And I did shorten this. It would have been longer. I was about to say, when we come to the congregation today, wow. Okay, then. I was about to say to the congregation today, now that you're here, you're not going home. I was going to say that. So I thought about it, and I said, listen, you know what? We'll cut it so that everybody can go home. So, again, just bear with me, Mr. McCall. We're almost done. And Yahuah caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. We're not going to get into that. And he slept, and he took one of the ribs. We're not going to get into that. You're going to read it just as it is. And closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which Yahuah had taken from man, just like we had Shabbat has said, from the man, and made he a woman and brought her into to the man. Verse 23. And Adam said, this is now, some said now that this one, we'll leave that alone too. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She should be called woman because she was taken out of man. Now, this is the thing. The woman is called woman because of what?
She was taken out of man.
Easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is this independent thing? I'm not getting it.
Feminism.
The man is not independent of the woman, and the woman is not independent of the man. It's a business. We must come together. 2 men can't lay down and have children. 2 women can't lay down and have children. There has to be an agreement between both parties. Somebody's going to have to submit. And I'm not submitting. Not submitting. The man does the penetration, the woman does the receiving. Just as simple as that. No homo tendencies, all testosterone here. No estrogen. I heard, but there might be a little estrogen, you know, with the balance and everything, because even women have a little estrogen, you know, with them too. You know, testosterone. So there is a balance because we do have the XY chromosomes and everything like that. Absolutely. Shabbat had something. Right?
I was going to say that you can tell with female, even when you would say female and male, if
right.
you look at those, you see the balance. Everything that the man was missing, he put in the woman.
Right.
So that shows even dealing with Ezra or helpmate,
okay.
the woman's role.
Absolutely. You know what? Can we just save the questions until after class? Because we want to finish this up. Because we want to knock this out in 10 minutes. So, protecting the brand, the name. 2 Chronicles 7:14. I think that's about it. I'll leave the rest of these scriptures here because we'll be here for a long time. Protecting the brand. We got 3 scriptures. Mr. McCall, we'll be done. 2 Chronicles 7:14. 2 Chronicles 7:14. Okay, this is still cakewalk for you, right? Because we were built for this. We did this now in 10 degrees outside, man. We did this. Okay, 7:14. 2 Chronicles. Is this right? 7:14. Yes, 7:14. Watch how the name is protected. If my people, which are called by whose name?
Whose name?
So we have Moreh Eliyahu, we have Chief Zakane Gabar Yahuah, we have Shalak Yahuah, Nabad Yahuah, we have Abad Yahuah, and which? Shalom, so strength. Shalom. So the peace of the Father's peace. Right, so now we see how our names are attached or associated some way with the Father. So now what we must do now is protect the brand, and the brand is the name. So if the Father put his name on us, we must walk accordingly, because we're a brand, is what we're doing. The other nations are going to look at us and will not emulate us, because the Father put his name upon us, which is the brand, and they're going to see now the marriage agreement and covenant that we have with the Father, and they would also want to be part of this, because we're first fruits, we're Bikor, we're the Bikurim, and they're going to have to now abide or follow us. So again, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and return from their wicked ways, then will I hear from Shamayim and forgive their sins and will heal their land. Two more scriptures. Isaiah 43:7. And I'll leave the rest alone because I have like 10 more scriptures. I didn't know it was going to take this long, but we'll leave that at another time. Isaiah 43 verse 7. It says, okay, let me read verse 3. For I am Yahuah your Elohim. I'm at 43, Isaiah 43, 3 and 7 I'm going to read. For I am Yahuah your Elohim, the set apart one of Yashra'al, your Savior. I gave Egypt for your ransom, Ethiopia and Seba for you. Since thou was precious in my sight, thou hast been honorable, and I have loved you. Therefore, watch this, will I give men for you and people for your life. Now that's love.
That's what it is.
People died so that the Father can have this intimate relationship with the nation of Yashra'al. And this, and another thing too, I know this might be scary, but it is what it is. It is the Isha's responsibility now to lay down her life for her Isha.
What?
It is the Isha's also her responsibility to lay down her life for her Ish. And the Ish now's responsibility to lay down his life with the Isha. That's the Achai. If the Mashiyach laid down his life for the bride, what do you think your responsibility is going to be?
I have my life for my bride.
If you don't want to do that, again, there's plenty of room in the church. And you can do whatever it is that you need to do. But this walk here is about sacrifice. This is what it's about. And just to share with you anyway, is that every time that a woman brings forth children, and we have, and just for example, we have your Isha here, every single time that she gave birth, her life was on the line. Every single time. So that's a big responsibility. And so what happened now is that for you, she put her life on the line for you to bring forth your seed. This is what she did. And even if the Isha is not able to bring forth children, she's still doing that too. Putting herself on the line by going to work, getting up, taking care of the household, all these things. She's putting herself on the line for her Ish. And the Ish is doing the same thing. He's getting up in the mornings, traveling, as Ariella, you know, man, there's a lot of stuff that's happening on that road. A lot of stuff. Because you have to be both an offensive and a defensive driver. I see a whole lot of stuff, people playing with their laptops, women putting on lipstick, men shaving with their electric shavers, driving down the highway. Oh yeah, man, because you're sitting up high in the truck, and I can look down and I can see everything. Some things that we're not even going to discuss here while driving. We've seen it. All right, the car can even testify to that. We've seen some nasty stuff that be going on in these cars on the way to work. So, we're going to finish this up. Isaiah 43, for your life, verse 5. Fear not, I am with thee. I will bring your seed from the east and from the west. I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. Bring my sons, personal pronoun, my sons from far, and my daughters from the ends of the earth, even everyone that is called by my name. For I have created him for my esteem. I have formed him, yes, I have made him. And the last one is Numbers 6:27. And we will be done. 6:27. 6:27. And they shall put my what? Name upon the children of Yashra'al. And when this is done, I will baruch them. That, Mr. Bakar, is today's lesson. Sorry that it took so long. I just needed to bring that out for clarity. And we'll talk a little bit more about the ketubah. We're going to talk about a little bit more about the brand a little bit later on. But I thank everybody for their patience with today's lesson. Now that we're done, if anybody have any questions. Oh, we have 3 minutes. Okay, then. What I was going to do with the lesson, and I'm not going to get into it, I promise, is that I was going to even show in depth that the connection that the groom has with the bride. Everything that happened to the bride happened to the groom. Everything. Every single thing. So it's impossible for you to live in your household, and if there's something not right with your Isha, that is not going to affect you.
That's right.
Okay, because come on, let's just keep it 100. When there's shalom in the house, brother, listen, you know what? Man, I mean, it feels like you cannot conquer the world.
Sure do.
You know, you don't mind going to work, you don't mind going to war, fighting the enemy and things like that. If everybody needs to feel appreciated. It gets no simpler than that. Nobody is supposed to be lazy. Everybody has a job to do. And the sooner and the better that we understand that, the better off we will be. Did anybody have a question? Because I'm just about, yes.
I wanted to find out what is the ritual. If you have a young woman in here that wants to get married,
Right.
and a young man in here wants to marry her, what is the ritual? In Western culture, where we are in Western society, you may date for a few minutes and then you go and get your paperwork and then you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So how is it Hebraically?
Right.
What do they, are there any, what is the steps?
Okay. Wait, as far as I came. We have as far as I came.
Okay.
He can share some of that with you. Because it is the father's responsibility, okay, and the Isha, but mainly the man's responsibility in the relationship to investigate and check the young man that's interested in his daughter. Because we don't play boyfriend, girlfriend. We're going to test her out and sleep with her and all this other stuff. We don't do that in Israel. So in a case like that, the young man will go to the father. He needs to know what are the plans for the relationship. Is he following Torah? Those are just some of the basics.
Okay, so now we have that. The father, they got their plans made. The father says, okay, yes. Where does this
ceremony?
Yes, and what does the ceremony look like? Because if somewhere down the road, this guy says, okay, well, I've got my business straight, and we're here.
Right.
Georgia, Decatur, I want to take another wife. How does he do that when he would be a bigamist to do so?
Right, exactly.
So how does he do that? How does he take another wife living here in the United States?
Right. According to the judicial system, the way marriages are ran here, no, they don't do that here. No. They have what they have here. They have mistresses here. That's what they do. They will have a mistress. So, for example, like all of the presidents, they had a mistress. There was Maryland.
Okay, I'm talking about Hebraically.
Hebraically.
How does this guy who is a member of the congregation take on another wife?
Okay.
Because the book obviously says that he can.
Right.
He just cannot take away from the first wife and
Right.
those responsibilities that he has with her. But now he wants to get another wife, and they're here in the United States of America. How does he do that?
He does it by what most people don't know, and even in the United States of America, you cannot take on another wife under a marriage license. It's only a license that's permitting you to marry. But even the United States, they honor a Hebraic marriage ketubah, which is a marriage contract. A contract, you can enter into a binding agreement with anybody. And the law honors that. They're just like me and Kasad. Do you not know we can make a contract? We can take a brown paper bag and we can say, I can say, man, if you wash my car, I'll give you $10,000. If we both sign up on that agreement, because we've entered into an agreement,
Right.
and we put our signature on it, no matter if it's not a legal document or that or whatever, because we both entered into that agreement and signed up on it. It's honored by the United States and federal and
He
federal.
has a wife and then he has a concubine. Or he just has a relationship and he has an agreement that he can have another relationship with that woman.
Right.
Because that can't legally be his second wife.
Well, biblically, it's his second wife. But what happens is, only thing the United States of America is doing is they're allowing you to have received benefits from that man. That's it.
Yes.
Right, I understand that. I just want to know how is it done? How is it done in the Hebrew culture?
Right, by the ketubah. So, a written contract.
So, okay,
It's a binding agreement between that Ish and that Isha.
okay.
And Yahuah, he's the overseer over it.
Exactly. Because Yahuah doesn't actually honor far as the marriages that's here for the license that they do here. Because now they two men can get
Yeah, two
married
men.
under that same license.
I understand
So,
that.
right,
I'm
exactly.
talking about if you have a male and a female. I'm not talking about anything outside of the book.
Right.
And when I said what he said is so key, just what he just said right now.
Right.
That's how you have to know and understand and love Torah.
Right.
Because just like you think you have a right to marry another woman,
Right.
another man has a right to marry another man.
Right.
So do you think Yahuah is honoring that?
No.
That was key what you just said, and I brought that out with somebody about 3 months ago.
Right.
But I don't care what kind of arrangement or agreement you. As a matter of fact, even if you enter into a verbal agreement with someone here, and you both acknowledge that you did agree to those terms, it don't even have to be written.
Right.
By law, you're held accountable to that agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So that's why the United States of America, they will honor any contract, a marriage contract, a ketubah, because it's held by the law. The law protects binding agreements. It holds both parties accountable.
Right.
The only reason we do marriage licenses law, even with me and my Isha, we sat down with Morris and Mayu, and like I said, it's only for the purpose of benefits.
Right.
You know, if the Most High should call me home, she needs to be still taken care of while I'm gone.
Right.
While I'm here, she needs to have medical benefits. She needs to have, all the benefits that I receive as a perk for me being on the job. She's one with me. She should receive the same thing. And that's all it's for, to extend the benefit that you receive to the Isha.
Exactly. And just like, notice now, you have a marriage license versus a contract, an agreement. And so what's interesting now is that with the side of Torah, if a man decided, okay, he was going to take on a second Isha, he should first have a ketubah with his first Isha. So now when he brings in the second Isha, we talked about in the book of Exodus, the 21st chapter, 10th verse, where now, the responsibilities and things of that sort and everything like that. Under our law, it's still a ketubah. So he has a ketubah with her. I believe it's one of those states where the Mormons
Utah.
It's the Utah. It's state law.
It's Utah.
Yeah, you can actually do it there.
That's where Mormonism started at.
Yeah, exactly. So there are certain states that do recognize. I think there's another one too, though.
They're pushing for the other states to recognize it.
Yeah. So it is that, and just to let you know that history that it was actually like a form of birth control, when it was just one Isha. Because that was not Hebraic culture, because I'll bring in the notes for you. But even Josephus explains now is that this was something that the Romans implemented because they said that the children of Israel was growing too fast. And so now to shorten or stop the procreation or the spread of them, because the Father made the promise to Abraham that his seed would be as the stars of Shamayim. And so Planned Parenthood, that all of that now is minimizing the seed, is what it's doing. Abortion, minimizing the seed. You go to scripture, I was going to share this now, but I'll do it another time, where it was always the thing throughout history, and especially biblical history, is to destroy the male seed. Not to say that women didn't go through anything, but if you destroy that male seed, Pharaoh said, listen, you know what? Kill all of the firstborns, but save the women alive. Because when you destroy all of the males, he's gone. Because now this leaves the woman without a covering. The enemy now goes into you, and you're not going to bring forth his seed. That's the way that it happens. But this
So that was the primary reason that they set up Planned Parenthood and all
exactly.
these other organizations anyway.
Exactly, because they teach even with Jewish. What's that?
I say not homosexuality.
It's
a weapon that they use.
Exactly.
And they do chemical castration too. That's on a whole other level.
Chemical
castration.
It's this chemical called azetherine. This brother named Tyrone Banks had actually, they was out of his head about it, but basically what he did was it messed with the voice box, because he tested it out on frogs. It messed with the voice box on frogs, male frogs, and then it also in some cases caused the male frogs to develop ovaries. And then when it came time to mate, the male frogs that were exposed to the chemical that didn't change preferred the male frogs that had developed ovaries.
What?
And it's well documented. And then other scientists all over the world did it on other animals that did the exact same thing. And this is the chemical that they're using to grow off of.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah.
We are sincerely struggling.
What is a concubine?
A concubine, maid servants. Concubines were usually used to help further the family. She had the ability to even at some point become a wife. For example, notice when Rebecca went to Isaac, she didn't go alone.
So are you saying a concubine is a handmaid?
There is a difference between like a handmaid.
What is the difference?
Right, because a handmaid, the first time that I noticed the word handmaid, we see it with Hagar, and she wasn't an Israelite. So, but, Warren, you have anything on that?
It's just like you said the first time, a concubine, she has duties, and part of her duties is if, number one, a man can't continue the house, because it's all about, when we get back to this, we have to realize the overall job of everybody in the house is to build and continue the house of the head. So you'll see plenty of times where wife number one, who couldn't produce or bring forth, that was the purpose of having handmaid or concubine.
Okay.
to continue the house.
Right.
You know, or a surrogate, anything.
Right.
Okay, so then she said.
Okay, that makes sense.
When you get time, because I don't hold you up, look at this word right here. It's the bet and the nun sophie, and the root word, it's not a root word, but this word is also associated with this word right here, the nun and the hay. This word right here means son. This word right here means is banah, and this means to build the house, to build the foundation. And so the concubines and the handmaids were used now to help build the house. This is Bain. Bain means a bond. It means son. This is banah, and banah means to build a house. But it doesn't necessarily mean a literal house, but this house means to build a family. This is what happens. And when you look up that word there, it's a long definition. And that word banah, it talks in that definition, it talks about a sister wife aiding to build the house. I get it for you in detail. That word banah, look it up, it's talking about a woman that comes to the house to actually help build the house. As we see with Rebecca, as we see with Rachel and Leah, we see with
It's stated in I said it's stated in the Ruth as well that she be blessed like Rachel, Leah, Bill, and the handmaids.
Yes.
As far as being the cornerstones of the family.
Absolutely. You're 100% correct.
Akuti Sadiqa had a comment about concubines as well.
Okay.
She said a concubine was usually a handmaiden to the wife. If the wife couldn't produce an heir, she gave her husband her handmaiden. The handmaiden was not a wife, but still was under the authority of the wife.
Exactly.
And this is a concubine.
Absolutely.
Weren't concubines women outside of Yashra'al? They were not Israelites?
I'm sure that there were.
Women of other nations?
I know the first one, the handmaiden, take for example, like Hagar. Hagar was not an Israelite. I don't know too many women, the concubines. It even talks about, for example, it's in Exodus, the 21st chapter. Remember it talked about the master of the house, and if he had a maid servant, and he found more favor in her eyes, and he then gave her to the son. And but the woman was a maid servant. Right. It even talked about in scripture where the father was able to actually sell his daughter as a maid servant for to another Israelite in order to pay off a debt. Naaman, his Isha had a maid servant, and she assisted the house. So Hebrew marriages are different. They're really different. And then again, it's not about, I can have sex all over the place. Right. It was not about that. Because everywhere you see your scripture, you never see Leah and Rachel and women arguing about, it was about sex. That wasn't the issue. Because we have now Jacob minding his own business. He's working in the field doing this thing, and at the end of the day, listen, you know what? I just gave her some mandrakes, and listen, you know what? You're sleeping in my tent tonight. Because I want children. That's what it was always about. But what happened now is that because of backward teachings that we hear from a lot of these street teaching Israelite guys here now is that they're only talking about having sex all over the place with no responsibility. So we're talking about in a monogamous relationship, the woman that you're involved with, you need to make sure that she's going to be a benefit to the household, to the family. In a polygynous relationship, concubines, handmaids, whatever, make sure that she's going to be an asset to the relationship.
And also, Maureen, and to take in consideration, take in mind that no one was allowed to come into that relationship any other way than by a consumer.
Exactly.
Was wife number one? There had to be a reason why you were being brought into that union, and it had to be stipulated step by step why you were brought in and what purpose you were being brought in to fulfill.
Exactly.
And you can't find in the scripture where Israelite men went to go get second wives because they were hot and just want to have sex.
Exactly. It's not there.
It's not there. There was always a reason. It was always to build the house.
Well, you know what? You just hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
Because we have to clear up misunderstandings.
There's madness out here.
You do not get a second Isha because you just want to have more sex. It's not there.
It's perversion.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
It's actually carnality.
Exactly. And you had did a class on that, if I'm not mistaken, as I came, you talked about the lust of the flesh.
Yes.
That's all what it is.
Yes.
That's all what it is. I'm here to say this, and if anybody else has any questions. For example, if you're Ish, and I tell the YouTube and the Facebook people this, your Isha has a right to ask. If the Ish says, I want another Isha, a second Isha, she has a right to say why.
Why?
And you should be able to give her a reason why.
Sure. And then you try to get with.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on. And then can you imagine now, well, I'd like to meet her. Okay, when she gets off about 9 o'clock. Okay, where does she work at? Well, she works at the strip club.
What?
Yeah, she's a dancer.
Yeah.
You know, so you as an Isha, like, well, how is she going to be an influence in the family when she's swinging on the pole? Exactly. So she has to be an asset, and he should be able to say, listen, you know what? I believe that we need help in the household because of whatever reason, but it should not be because last night you said you had a headache and I wanted to really do what I needed to do, and you had a headache, so now I want a second Isha.
Yeah, that's going to cut.
That's not it. And again, I say, any brother that wants to take on a second Isha, hallelujah, or power to you, that's a lot of work, bro. That is a lot of work, a lot of different personalities, the attitudes, the mood swings, that's a whole lot. I mean, I can understand what Shaul said when he said, if a man was able to do this, again, it's not law. If a man was able to do this, if all men could be as he was. Single, because that way you can concentrate on Torah. But if you burn, you know what, so you won't be messing with nobody else's wives and things like that, go ahead and get married. Go ahead and do that. But the whole thing now is that you want shalom. 2, 3, 4, 5 different Ishas. I know for me that would be complicated, bro, because I was sharing with Moray Lamont a couple of days ago. I said, brother, listen, there is so much I want to do. That would be too much on my point, meaning this, is that I want to get a better understanding of the language. I need to improve my relationship with the Mashiyach. I want to do this. This is what I really want to do. And there's so much, I find it so interesting about our history, understanding the Hafal system, the cost, all these things. I want to know how to put the words together. I want to know how to speak. And I just, sometimes, man, for me now to spend some time with her, then have to run across town for here, then have to run across town for there, and then have to go to work. When I'm going to have time for this here, man, it's just a lot. But again, if that's what a brother wants to do, hallelujah. But it's not documented in Scripture that a man must take on a second Isha. It's not even documented that you need to be in a monogamous relationship. I've seen monogamous relationships work and fail. I've seen polygamous relationships work and fail. So, pick your poison. Yes.
Someone named Pan Wilson said, so was, I'm guessing, the kings carnal-minded with all of their wives?
When I look at Solomon, for example, these were treaties.
Yes.
I think a lot of people forget. Yeah. These were treaties that Solomon was making with other countries. And again, there's a lot that people need to understand with marriages, because you're bringing families together. It's a treaty. It's an alliance. Even when you start to look at the movies like the Bourgeois and how they bring it, so it's bringing families together. And again, there's one with treaties. And if you were to take on a second, third, fourth, whatever it is that you want to do, this person has to be following Torah.
Sure do.
Because it was not that Solomon had all these wives. It was that what the wives were doing is what they're doing. Because I can have one wife and fall into the same zone that Solomon fell into. So my Isha would have to now be in one accord with me. If she's pulling in the opposite direction, whether I have one wife, two wives, or three wives, the end result is going to still be the same. That's about it. You know, we have to be in a cod. We good?
Good.
Joe.
All right. Okay, with that, Mishrakar, we're going to end today's services. There's no more questions there.
No.
Okay, hallelujah. I pray that everybody got a good understanding with your monogamous relationships, with polygamous relationships. But that wasn't the title, that wasn't the class. What we were trying to just share here now was that marriage and protecting the brand and how important it is for us not to understand contracts. And I believe that in order for any relationship to be successful, it should be governed by a ketubah. I believe that is very, very important. If the Mashiyach or the father had a ketubah with Israel, and the Mashiyach being the prime example, I believe that I should have a ketubah with my Isha. And again, Lamar is right down in Virginia. He's licensed, and he can get it done. Okay, it's snip, snip, snip. It can take about an hour, hour and a half. You do the feet washing, the whole 9 yards, the hoopah, the whole 9 yards. It should take about an hour and a half. Drive on back up. You got yourself a ketubah. You're good to go. And that ketubah is binding. Yes. It is binding. That's it.
I don't know. I don't know if she was responding to the comment before that or not. So I don't. Should read it?
Yeah.
Okay. Akuti Sadiqa said there were 5 reasons on how a man could obtain a second wife or add another woman to the household. A warrior who took a woman as a spoil of war, the Levirate law, which is seen in Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 5, handmaiden as a concubine to bring forth an heir or marital alliances, which Yahuah discouraged kings from doing.
Okay. All right. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Okay, we're going to stand up, face the east. Zakin is going to blow the shofar, and we have our executive moray to Baruch food, and in this, he's going to Baruch us, where we're going to have a better week. Well, I'm going to have a better week. We're all going to have a better week. It was rough. It was rough. All right, so let's continue the good fight and continue in Torah.
set apart Shabbat. We thank you for our leaders. We thank you for our Moreh, Senior Moreh Kasadaba, Zazakan. We thank you for Rabalu. We thank you for all our brethren. We thank you for all the officers, Officer Zakariahu. We thank you for all of our Ishas. And we just thank you for everybody. We thank you for your word. We got so much out of it. We thank you for just the fellowship and the love. We thank you for the food that you have given us today. We want to say thank you and ask that you show favor to the hands that prepared the food. We just ask that you grant us mercy, grant us peace, grant us love, long suffering. Just ask that you cover us all this week. We ask that you allow your guardian Malachim to encamp around us, protect us from all hurt, harm, danger seen and unseen. We just thank you for everything. Thank you for everybody. We just ask that you let us have a wonderful, favorable, set apart rest of the week in the precious name of your Son, Mashiyach, Yahusha. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.